Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Illegal Shift Studio. It is time for another episode of the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Welcome into the show. It's a Friday afternoon, and to crack this beer wide open, I'm Dan Carroll. So glad you are here. I'm glad to be here myself. And it's amazing, Jason, how many times we do this podcast and there is breaking news developing as we come on the air.
It makes podcasting very, very easy because we keep getting all of the ammunition, whatever it may be, whether it's another teacher, whether it's another politician, sports shit.
In this case, a DA from Atlanta that we talked about quite a bit on our last podcast with our good buddy Zeke Arkham, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that podcast with Zeke Arkham, we recommend you go back just one podcast prior to this one.
It was fantastic.
And check that out. Zeke was really good.
No, I love
a lot
talking
of good
to
feedback
him.
on that one.
And I pushed that out to a few people, and they listened to it, and they were like, holy shit, that was a great one.
Yeah,
so,
Zeke was awesome.
Good guest grab for you. Very good. I appreciate you bringing something to the table.
Unfortunately, we probably won't be able to say the same about the guest we have today.
Probably not.
Can't hit a home run every time.
You're right. Sometimes you got to hit into a double play, go back to the dugout,
take one for the team,
get your glove, and go back to the field. But that's what we have today.
So where do you want to start?
Why don't we bring him in, because he's gonna start bitching if we don't. So we'll just go ahead and bring.
Get a little antsy.
He's been on the show. He's an icon around Anderson Township.
Locally,
parts.
anyway, yeah.
Local icon. The women love him, and we're gonna bring in our friend Andrew Pappas.
We got to get our numbers with women up.
Yeah.
We're Pappas. We're putting that on you, brother.
Wait a second. Just Anderson Township, you said. I'm kind of offended.
Well,
legend. I mean, my greatness spans.
Don't get too big for your britches there, brother.
I mean, look. Let's just say it how it is. By the way, let me comment a lot of things there. Your last guest, you set the bar pretty high. He was excellent.
Yeah, he
very
was
well spoken. Loved his perspective. Loved his attitude. Loved his passion. And he definitely. It happens a lot on the show that the guest often outshine the host. So it was he was very good. So
doesn't bother me at all. We get a guest that can bring it, and a guest that can hold his own or her own. I'm happy to have that.
Yeah, and that's the goal. I mean, when you have Marty Brenneman on, how do you outshine Marty Brenneman?
You know, but I
Good
mean,
question.
Seriously, you guys do a great job, and you're a service to not only our community. I just think that you bring a refreshing perspective, and also just a voice that is a bit different, and it's always a lot of fun being on the show. So I appreciate the opportunity to be up on there. So just thank you.
Glad you're here. Always
my representing the flag in the background here. So I'm just chilling out and taking some time with you guys. By the way, breaking news. Don't know if I can see text from a Mr. Is there someone in the township named a Mr. Girth, Mr. J Girth? Don't know who he is.
Never heard of her. Never heard of
it. It could be a she. I'm not sure. But
legend.
Breaking news. There's another balloon, unidentified balloon, heading for the West Coast. Gentlemen, get ready. Buckle up.
Now, see, I missed that. When did that happen? Just now?
26 minutes ago, Dan. Get with the times, buddy.
Wow.
Get with the times.
I'm telling you. I'm so 30 minutes ago.
First,
well,
AT&T goes down, and now there's a balloon.
Dan, there's this thing called the interweb. Maybe you've heard of it.
I have.
You have to make sure you accentuate the
interweb.
It's like
Hey, were any of you, speaking of that, were any of you affected by the AT&T outage yesterday?
I don't think I was. Dan,
let me simplify the question. Dan, did your phone stop working yesterday?
Nicely played, sir.
I don't think it did.
So mine, funny that you bring that up, because I was on Wi-Fi in the house, right? And I went to leave to go see our buddy Rob. And when I got into the truck, I had SOS, and I'm like, I paid that fucking bill. I know I did.
Well, it's hard to keep up. Wait a second. I know I paid that bill.
So I shut my phone down and just restarted, and it was fine. But I'm also part of that FirstNet contract through AT&T for first responders.
So it automatically switched over.
So it gives us like a good example is if I went to a Bengals game before I was on FirstNet, I wanted to send a video to Andrew Pappas of this play. Everybody, those web, the cell towers were getting overwhelmed. So those videos would never go out.
You don't mean like a Hollywood play. You're talking about a play in the game, right?
Playing the game, correct.
Okay. Because we're not talking about like you're not going to send me the full-length version of Hamilton or something like that.
Definitely not. Okay. Definitely not. Look at me.
Thanks.
But
look at me.
Once I got on FirstNet, we get first responders. Supposedly, I thought it was bullshit at first. A ploy just to get you. We'll save you money and change your contract over. But the next Bengals game that I went to, where I would normally have an issue, stuff was going right out. So like I had no issue with that. So I'm like, all right, cool. This FirstNet thing is legit, and it's a contract through AT&T with the government. So I'm like, all right, thought it was.
So we're paying. So what you're saying is, I'm subsidizing your cell phone bill. Is that what you're saying?
I'm paying it, but I get priority over you. That's correct. You're reading it loud and clear.
Because you are who you are. I don't have a problem with that. So
I don't know what happens when I retire though, because I don't want to get rid of that. So
you get yanked, you get pulled. So you get put.
Oh, what about his white privilege though?
Yeah,
doesn't that kick in at that point?
It's possible. Have you played your white card, or has it been punched, or do you still have it?
I think I still have a couple punches.
Holding on to that one.
It's like a lunch card. Just clink, clink, clink.
Don't want to wear it. Don't want to wear it out.
But to answer your question,
Dan, you don't know that you don't know if your phone went down for 4 or 5 hours yesterday. Is that what you're saying?
Yesterday, when all that was going on, I was watching a little Fox News. Was also taking delivery of a new washing machine. Our washing machine went tits up this past week.
I love it when you say tits
up.
It went tits up.
Thankfully, the guys who delivered the washing machine and installed it got there about 8 o'clock in the morning. I got a call about 7:30 saying, "Hey, we're going to be there in about 30 minutes." So as far as
I'm busy,
I was busy with other things while all that was going haywire.
So what was it? 220, 221? What kind of washing machine are we talking about there, Dan?
It's 220, 221, whatever it takes.
It's just your standard, ordinary washing machine.
Dan has no idea what we're talking about there.
Cleans your clothes. What, you're talking about 220, like a 220 circuit? No. No, I don't know.
It's a movie quote. You're right.
It's from a cinema. What do you think?
But no,
Kiefer, good grab there, Kiefer. I appreciate you picking up on that.
Well, you guys have seen a lot of the same movies. I have not seen a lot of the same movies that you guys have seen.
Well, usually I find myself, usually I go down to the Aronoff and I watch plays live. So
right, sure, yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, I got taken down the other night to see. I always call it The Life of Brian, but it's not that. The Book of Mormon. And so it was I think my first or second time going down there ever in my life. And so I got to sit through a play. Quite something.
Did you like it or no? Just yes.
I'm not a play kind of guy, but from everything I've been told, that of all the plays to take me to, that was probably the one where I would have the highest percentage chance of not falling asleep. Plus, the chairs there are made for. I will tell you, as a normal size, I consider a plus size human being, the chairs were not designed for snoozing.
At the Aronoff Center, I'll agree with that.
They're also designed for Ethiopians.
They were thin and man, I had no neck support, so there was no sleeping. Although I will say that they had chocolate covered pretzels in the lobby. I found quite delicious, but that's another story.
Jason is a devotee of the arts, so he's a frequent visitor to the Aronoff Center.
I do like the Aronoff. It is fun to go.
It's been a few years since I've been there, but I've been there a few times.
Seen a few plays in my day. contrary to popular belief, I'm a little cultured, but not much, really.
Well,
Joe has to put lipstick on this pig just to get me out in public, so it's fine. I get it. I'm fine.
Well, it was a nice night out, and I'm not gonna really. I mean, I don't know that I would go buy tickets, season tickets, but
Sure.
I'll tell you that it was actually a pretty decent event, and the play itself. I'm trying to figure out what group wasn't offended at the content of that performance. They pretty much skewered everybody.
So the Book of Mormon, yeah.
The Book of Mormon. It was. I didn't know if someone goes. Yeah, I was like, how should I say this? I was lamenting a little bit that my night was taken up having to go downtown at 6:30. But they said, look, the guys that wrote South Park made the play in my ears. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm in. I'll go see it.
All right, so anybody that hasn't watched or listened to any of our former podcasts where Andrew Pappas has been on, Andrew's a former township trustee in the area.
Put that on my resume. I think I'm gonna go on LinkedIn right now and just
don't make me mute you already. It's too soon, bud.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
Trying to chat with Mr. Jay Girth here while we're talking.
So we talked our last podcast with Zeke Arkham about the Fannie Willis bullshit. The DA down in Fulton County and her money laundering schemes with her boyfriend and whatever. And I found this article or this news story that I want to play, and I want to get Andrew Pappas' opinion on it. He doesn't know what's coming, and it's I'm not throwing you under the bus, but you being somebody that ran a township, was part of a team that ran a township, having to deal with some of those things. I'm going to play this. Let me find it here. I'm going to play this news clip and then get your opinion afterward.
An investigation into controversial Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending and joins us now with an update.
We've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about?
Yes, very serious.
Concerns?
Very, very serious. Very.
Lawrence Gardner owns a U-Haul rental and trucking business in South Suburban Dalton and says he went to the FBI several months ago, frustrated that the village of Dalton would not renew his business license. Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dalton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork to show them what was happening in court and what was happening in Dalton. And they told me they was investigating and they would be in touch with me.
Gardner is one of 6 people who confirmed to Fox 32 that they've been interviewed by the FBI, ranging from Dalton business owners to a former village employee and at least one public official. And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips, hundreds of thousands of dollars in police overtime for her personal security detail, using public employees and tax dollars for personal benefit, and holding up licenses to certain businesses like this Dalton restaurant.
I've heard rumors that say, hey, I'm on the wrong team.
Dwayne Wood has been trying to renew the business license for his restaurant for nearly a year. While he has not talked to the FBI, he believes he can't get approved because he's provided catering to several Dalton trustees who are engaged in a political fight with Henyard.
I think I've been just targeted because of my affiliation with a certain group of people. I had the trustees. I cooked for the trustees.
And in a lawsuit filed by a Dalton towing company, the owner alleges their business license has been held up because, quote, George's Towing's refusal to support or contribute to Henyard's political campaign.
How do you put that in writing?
Trustee Jason House reacted
right.
to the FBI's involvement. We welcome any investigation that will bring transparency on how taxpayer dollars are being spent. Our residents deserve this level of financial transparency. We reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence.
So here's my question, because I don't know, I should know this, but I don't. The rough population of Anderson Township, where we live,
43,000 people, plus or minus.
Okay, so
Next question.
Dalton, Illinois is 20,000, almost 21,000 people. And this bitch is paying for a security detail? Are you shitting me?
Well, it is Chicago.
So, I mean, I figured you would try to get a security detail for you. You probably needed it, and I would have voted for that.
I am a security detail. So
just because I care about you.
Straight, okay?
But I mean, as a politician or former politician, however you want to, paraphrase yourself, like how do you let this shit go through? Like what happens when you were in that seat?
Well, when I hear of stories like this and I see it in the news, and first of all, you saw me shaking my head, right? I don't know if you saw me or not, but I didn't when I was in office, I served for 8 years and I enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. I never even got someone to buy me a lunch, which I don't care about. I wouldn't accept it anyway. But I mean, my point is, I'm always puzzled as to when I hear of crooked politicians, and they do exist for sure. We read about it. There's stories about it. I'm always puzzled as to how you are able to be so, I don't know what the word would be, maybe brazen or just so forward to be like, look, I'd love to help you out, but you're going to have to do this, that, or the other. I mean, I'm literally still to this day, I'm stunned. That's why I was shaking my head. I'm like, wow, no one so much. And to be fair, none of my fellow trustees that I know and had the pleasure of serving with, none of the current trustees. It just, maybe it's demographics where we are, like in Anderson, a suburb of Cincinnati. Maybe that's business as normal in Chicago area. Let's be honest. Chicago is not known for their good political operations. I mean, let's be fair.
Well, it depends on how you define good political operations.
Really. I mean, I think what happens is you get in, certain cities, certain areas of the country. I could think of, and I'll go a step further. More often than not, I would venture to say that's probably. It seems like the old school, maybe mob style politics tends to happen more in Democrat-run cities than Republican-run cities, and then that's necessarily it's not. I'm sorry, I saw a comment. It's not necessarily a blanket statement, but more often than not, you hear about this happening in big urban Democrat cities or one of their suburbs. It just is what it is. New York, Chicago, Baltimore, D.C., Atlanta with Fani Willis that you were discussing earlier. I mean, this kind of stuff, it really... It turns so many people off from politics that I think we need to come down. I hope that the law enforcement comes down really, really hard on this and makes an example of not just this particular person, but Fani Willis as well. And yeah, you mentioned protection detail, right? I mean, the limit of our protection or my protection detail while I was in office was myself, my own personal protection, and an officer at our trustee meetings just to make sure that no one stepped out of line. One police officer, and most times he was
protecting all of you.
Well, protecting not only us but those in the audience, the people, the attendees, and he was also participating in the meeting. So it's not like we had him there for protection per se,
right?
But he came prepared if need be to be called upon to keep the peace. So I'm always puzzled at this. She's a trustee of a township of about half the size of Anderson, and she's shaking down the businesses for for their food licenses, and then also spending excessive amounts of money on travel. I mean, officially, when I was trustee, the furthest we went, let me think about it here because I don't want to misquote. We went one time every year. We would go to Ohio. We would go to Ohio Township Association in Columbus, and that was all of the townships in Ohio would gather there. And I drove my car with my gas. We did get a per diem. I think it was like $100 or something. I can't remember what it was. We weren't doing it for the money for sure, but I drove my car up there and paid to park. I paid for the parking, and then the room was covered, but that was it. And that was for and I would usually every year it's a 3 or 4 day event. I would go up for about a day, maybe 2 at the most. But yeah, we don't take, at least we have good governance in Anderson for sure. We set the bar fairly high. I would say very high. And we don't even give the appearance of impropriety. And we're very, very frugal and very, very cognizant of the fact that we're spending the public's dollars. So we're not going on junkets anywhere. And I don't understand these cities like, oh, I'm going to a conference in the Bahamas for blah, 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 blah. I mean, come on. Really?
Honolulu. Oh, I've got to go to this.
Well, that's like
this mayor's meeting in Honolulu.
It's sickening.
It's like
and
when
how
Mark
people
Mallory,
put up with this. Yeah.
When Mark Mallory was the mayor of Cincinnati, he had to disclose his travel expenses, and he had multiple trips to Spain and all these foreign countries, and I think
wait. Let's be fair, Dan. I'm fairly certain the streetcar
came from Spain, so he had to oversee that build. I understand that. Yeah, so there might be some minor logic there.
And it was rainy on that trip, but only on the plane.
But
Josh is very active.
It's amazing how many people, especially people who, in my opinion, have no position being in the position that they are in. If they get elected to an office, they just assume a sense of entitlement with that. Because, and I've seen this gal in action before.
Which one? The one in Chicago?
Yeah, and there's if you look at it on YouTube or wherever, there's about a 15 or 20 minute long video of her chastising the people who were at the meeting, the people who were there up on the I guess her fellow members of council.
Tiffany Henyard. I couldn't remember her name. Tiffany Henyard.
But she is berating them and talking about how and she really went down the same road that Fannie Willis went down. Is that because she is a black woman, she is supposed to have certain amount of latitude and a certain amount of space to do as she feels and she pleases.
I've watched some of their council meetings or whatever, and she was like, "You people out there are black, and you need to support the black council members that are." I mean, it was right. It was fucking bad. Like shit. I said,
you know what? I feel like I should run for office again and change my MO, my modus operandi, and start behaving in much the same same vein. What do you think? I mean,
we're seeing this shit all across the country. I mean,
we are.
You have and small towns. So like I tell all my the young firemen that come in, they're like, oh, presidential election's coming up. I'm like, well, who are you voting for your school board? Who are you voting for your township trustees?
Right.
You got to start small. I mean, yeah. When Trump was running, and I'm going back when Trump first ran, everyone's, oh, holy cow, Donald Trump's running, I'm voting for him. I'm like, but who else did you vote for?
Yeah.
It starts small because everybody kind of trickles up, not all the time, but it starts small. And you have to be intelligent about who you're voting for. And these people vote these sons of bitches in. The Fannie Willis, this Henyard chick.
Yeah, they
$100,000 security detail. Give me a fucking.
Well, here's the deal. So, wait, let me say this. So she's a trustee in a township in Illinois.
Mayor.
No, I thought it said trustee.
No, she's a mayor.
You sure?
I think her fellow council members are called trustees,
but she's the Dalton, Illinois mayor.
My point here is, what could be the salary of a Dalton mayor? A Dalton, go ahead. Look good on the Dan. Could you get on the interweb again and see
Jason's got it right there. It can't be much. It can't be.
Right.
I mean,
And yet
but
she's
that's why she
spending
feels the
100
need to
grand.
subsidize.
Right. She's spending $100,000 on a security detail for a job that pays, I would guess, less than $100,000. I could be wrong.
Maybe 30 grand. Maybe 35.
You know how much your trustees make? Do you know how much your trustees in Ohio make?
In Anderson Township?
You know, all of Ohio. It's set by
I
the
think
state.
you get like a stipend of like $1,500 or something like that, isn't it?
No, more than that.
It's more than that.
It's an annual salary.
Lay it on us.
Well, man, let's play the guessing game here. Come on, let's go. Let's see who.
I think it's
just a little bit.
Like two.
It ain't much.
2,000.
I know it ain't
2,000
much.
a year.
No, it's more than that. You get literally, you get about, I think it's gone up a little bit. I want to say it's approximately trustees in all of Ohio, and it's set by the legislature. It's not decided by local voters. You get a salary of $22,000 a year. So you get
I said
$2,000 a month, maybe a little bit, $1,800 a month, and so for that amount of money, and don't get me wrong. So my point here is in saying that you're not getting in politics, at least in Ohio, at the local level.
Do you pay taxes on that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not getting, well, you're supposed to. You're not getting into politics, at least at the local level in Ohio, to get rich.
Oh, hell no.
So you're doing it as a sense of service to the community, and you're there to serve. And Jason,
Tiffany Henyard makes $224,000 a year.
Oh my God!
Wow. Well, that is the difference.
There is something
between
wrong
a township and a city. When I guess the city has its own. A city can set its own, rules, whatever.
But
they
it's
want to
fucking Illinois, man. Corrupt as the day is long.
Well, I don't want to be judgmental, but judging from the video clip you showed, it didn't appear to be, how would I say, your upper echelon of community. I think there were bars on the doors, which is usually, no matter even if you put, let's be fair, even if you put the little scrolly bars, the little flowery ones, they're still bars. So, I mean, it kind of detracts from.
There's a reason you have them.
Yeah. And usually they're not meant for decoration. So yeah, that's a big problem. She makes $200,000 a year.
That blew my mind though.
Plus she's probably taking, judging from the reports, who knows, maybe another 30, 40, 50, $100,000 a year in side money that's not being reported. That's a problem. And the saddest thing of all is apparently from the video, it's the lowest demographic of society, at least economically, that is being raked over the coals here. And to be fair, her fellow taxpayers are paying her salary.
Just for context,
no grifting going on.
For context, Aftab Puraval makes $121,000.
But does he get a clothing allowance? Because his clothes are really, I mean, have you seen his suits? I mean, they are
he is
like cut. Have you seen that? I mean, they're ripped. I think him and Girth shop at the same clothing place. I'm not sure, but I think they get at least their shoes at the same place. I'm not positive.
I think it says her salary may have dropped 25,000 as I'm looking at it. So she's still at 200,000 for a population of 21,000.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And you wonder why there's a sense of entitlement.
Well, and you also wonder, the people there are putting up with it. So imagine the political atmosphere there, that no one has chosen to stand up and say enough is enough and challenge her publicly. I mean, imagine the atmosphere has got to be so frightening that they feel like there's nothing they can do. And I feel bad because, look at the guy had a U-Haul place, looked like an average nice guy just trying to make a living, and he's being shaken down. Guy has a restaurant, he's being shaken down. These aren't particularly, don't look to be like, multi-million-dollar moguls that are being shaken down here. These are guys just trying to make a living.
We had Fannie Willis, who had pallets of money in her house.
Yeah. Well, isn't that normal? I mean, I said that that's normal. So look, till the people get tired of it and stand up and say enough is enough. And to be fair,
she's another one. She's another one demonstrating that sense of entitlement. I mean, look at the testimony. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the testimony that she gave a week or so ago. But look, I mean, you look at her attitude there on the witness stand, and the way she was going back and forth with those who were asking her questions. And now the phone records have come out, and it shows that they appear to contradict Mr. Wade's testimony that he visited Willis's condo less than 10 times, showing a minimum of 35 occasions where his phone was in her neighborhood for an extended time, and appears to undermine Willis's claim that he never spent the night. So if they're found to have lied under oath, Willis and Wade could face charges, potential disbarment, legal efforts, told the Daily Caller. So they're talking about over 2,000 voice calls, 12,000 text messages. Now, this goes back to 2021. They said in court they didn't start hooking up until 2022. So it looks now like the evidence is showing that they flat out lied. And again, these are the people who are going after Trump, claiming that that somehow they are protecting the American people from whatever it was that Trump did.
Well, Dan, you and I both know these are low-level pawns in a chess game that the left is playing against Donald Trump. Okay, and Fannie Willis.
When's Fannie Willis going to wake up to that the DNC doesn't give a shit about her?
Well, she might be waking up to it now. And let me tell you this: most people, or I hope most people, understand this is not a jury trial. This will be decided by the judge in that case, and until law enforcement decides to get, like I said, make an example of these people and set the bar very high for elected officials, this stuff's not going to quit. Because if they give her a slap on the wrist, if she plays the race card and they say, oh, we don't want civil unrest in Atlanta, or whatever the case may be, the threat of riots, the threat of civil disruption, and they say, for the better of the good, we're going to just not make a big deal out of this and make her step down and everything's forgiven. Well, how's that going to dissuade the next guy from doing the same damn thing, or girl?
Yeah. I don't know. Have you seen that part of this story? What kind of support? I don't know, and I have not seen that if she has a ton of popular support in Atlanta. I don't know if there's people, and maybe there are. Maybe they've got
her church,
their version of the Rhyming Reverends going on.
Her church
local radio and TV.
Award. Her church just gave her some big ass fucking award.
My God.
Church. Yeah, to say it in quotes.
And Zeke talked about her being a church speaker, but she was literally given like Black Woman of the Year of that church, and I'm like, okay.
And that's sad because there's a lot of people in that church or any church that go there for church's main. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not necessarily a theologian, although I could be. Let's just say this: that I think a church's primary function is to teach right from wrong. Right? I mean, wouldn't you guess that that's probably one of the? Yeah, I know. I'm throwing this out there.
It's a shocker.
Deep thought here. Can you play some music? Deep thoughts with Trustee Pappas.
Andrew Pappas.
But that's what she said. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking that, if this church, what kind of message are they sending to the youth in the church or everybody else in the church if they give her Woman of the Year? And like Dan said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or Ellery Queen or some sort of deep private investigator to be like, his story is not adding up. Her story is not adding up. They're both lying. And hopefully the judge will literally throw the book at both of them. And, compare that to, much the way the judge, separate case, but much the way the judge, you guys haven't really commented much on the judge, at least not on this segment, but, the ruling in New York City against Donald Trump with that case, the way the judge threw not only the book, but the whole building, this foundation, the street it was on, and everything else at Donald Trump.
Well, that guy is a creep as well. Have you seen the pictures that he sent out from the gym, right? With him shirtless, and I guess he's got it on the senior version of Tinder, whatever that is. I mean, the guy's just a creep from start to finish.
Yeah, it's called Cinder.
But it's
that. How I didn't see him look that up. How did he know that? I mean, that's,
it was in the news sometimes. But you were touched on church, and one of the angles that the left is using now to attack President Trump is that he's going to go after the Christian nationalists, or
It's a $50
have
fine. Your phone vibrated. $50 fine.
have a Christian nationalist agenda. And so on MSNBC was Heidi Prisbala, who used to be a regular on Fox News, but she's some sort of activist and commentator and has been for a long time. And she was on MSNBC and said one of the problems with Christian nationalists is that they have this notion that your rights come from God. So, and so she is now
Has
putting
she read the
forth
Constitution? I mean, has she read the Constitution? I mean, it's pretty well spelled out.
But see, you know, her position is that, well, it's men who read the Word of God and then interpret what He says. So your rights really come from men. So therefore, the rights that we all enjoy under the Constitution don't come from the Creator; they come from men. And so that's a fundamental problem now with Christian nationalists, and we all have to be aware of this, because that's one of the dangers that Trump is presenting should he become president once again.
Well, you know, one thing I found really offensive, well, I mean, one thing of a myriad of things, but, you know, I was always puzzled how the press during the election and even afterwards, early on in his presidency when he could speak, that Joe Biden would be quoted as saying the biggest problem faced in this nation is nationalism. And I find that, you know, and the press ran with it because that was their mantra, right? White nationalism, white nationalism, white nationalism. I mean, Dan, I didn't get the memo and the secret handshake. Are you and I and Jason, are we part of some, you know, now that we're on the same podcast together, are we, although I do have the flag behind me, so, you know, who knows? But I mean, are we part of some white nationalist?
I don't know. I'm out of the loop because I've never gotten a memo to go to one of those meetings. Have you, Jason, the secret handshake meetings or whatever, you know, the meetings are that all us white men go to?
I mean,
Yes.
no, I haven't.
We all think alike, right, Dan? I mean, we're monolithic in our, we never disagree. We don't have divergent views on other things. The quote unquote white guy, or for all, you know, for all intents and purposes, white women as well. We're all just, we're monolithic in our thinking. I find that, you know, I always chuckled when he would, and not in a good way. It was kind of a nervous chuckle because, you know, I don't think that, I think everyone would agree the division of this country, the biggest threat to our union is the division along racial lines. And it's the easiest one to make, and it's also the lowest one. They grab the low fruit and they run with it. You know, if we divide, you know, a house divided cannot stand. I'm not the first guy to say that.
I think it was Lincoln who said that.
Yeah, he quoted me. But you know, we sit here and you know, people, they say these things and they divide us, and people, I'm not going to say they use the Jedi mind trick on the weak-minded, because that might be offended to the weak-minded, but that's such an easy trick to do. And people are like, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, folks. They're, you know, divide and conquer. And that's what they're trying to do to us. And we need to stay, you know, I could disagree with a lot of people, but at the end of the day, if we have the fundamental belief in democracy, representative republic, because we're not actually a democracy. You know, people say we should vote on everything. That's what a democracy does. We're actually a representative republic. But if we can agree on the fundamentals of our republic and our rights from in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, then I can work with anybody, even if I disagree with them. But once we go down the road of saying that, you know, that group is a problem or this group is a problem, the government's going to then come in as the all-powerful savior because they've divided us, that's when we go down a path I really think is a dangerous path.
Well, and that's the way, not that long ago, that's the way things used to be, that there was an agreed upon set of principles that was sort of your starting place and your ending place. Yeah. So both sides would start that, you know, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. We believe in the Constitution. We believe that our rights come from the Creator. Now let's talk about where we disagree. And then you go down your different paths. But at the end of the day, you wind up coming back around to those core beliefs that all Americans should have. And that's what holds the country together. But now we are at a point now, And you know, the story that I just brought up, this whole notion that you know, Trump can't be president because all these Christian nationalists, and they think rights come from God. I mean, when did we get to that point to where we abandon the very core beliefs that make up this country? And if you don't have that to as a place to keep your feet grounded, then I mean, really, you lose everything.
Well, as the old saying goes, that a house built on sand will not stand. So a country built on sand would not stand either. And maybe that's their goal, is to undermine our foundation. And I think the foundation is God. And I think our country needs to get back in many ways. And I'm not talking about a national religion, folks, so take a pill. But what I mean is, you know, just a very basic understanding that there's something greater than we that endows us with certain rights that are inalienable. And if you don't know what that means, you could look it up on the interweb. But we really, you know, it's been symptomatic. And once we got away from that, I think that you can see a fundamental rise in the different problems that plague the United States. And I think, as Jason said earlier, he said something which is for him rarely significant, but sorry, I couldn't help it. Come on, throw me a bone.
You're throwing yourself your own softballs and knocking them out of the park.
I expect it. So,
well, look, people tend to say, people tend to get, you watch the news, you open the paper, you pick up anything, you read it, you kind of get down and you say, you know what, the country's going to hell, or, you know, they're not doing what I want, and you want to withdraw. But Jason's right. You know where it starts? It starts locally. It starts small. You can't affect the presidential election per se. You're one vote. And it's important that you do vote. But what's more important to your everyday life, where you live, where you work, is your kids' school. So you have to be involved in your schools. You got to go to school board meetings. You got to be involved in the PTOs, and your local community. And maybe that starts with your church, if you go to church, or maybe that starts with you being involved in, you know, what's going on, what your kids being taught, and going to the school board meetings and not being afraid to ask questions, and then support those candidates that share your values. I mean, we don't need, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but we don't need local school boards promoting the notion that there's, I'm going to get the show in trouble here, so I'll be kind of what's the word?
Oh, we've been in trouble.
I think we've gone down this road a time or two before.
Oh, look, I'm going to call it what it is. We have two genders. Okay, I think we have two genders. That's
very controversial of you to say that. Yeah,
I appreciate that. And we have one national anthem. And kids, you know, no matter what you believe you are, i.e., if you believe you're a dog or a cat, that's great for you at home, but I shouldn't have to indulge your mental illness at a public school where I'm paying for the indulgence of said illness. And we shouldn't have school board candidates, and people should do a little more homework before they select school board candidates that support such fallacies. Because I think the problem is that, you know, you confuse the youth. Eventually those youth are going to grow up and be confused adults. And, you know, I'm not saying indoctrinate. I'm not saying anything other than keep it simple. Let's teach the basics. Let's not confuse the children. Let's not use the children. Let's stop sexualizing the children. And let's get back to the basics. And that's going to take good parents getting involved in holding their local school boards accountable, and going to school board meetings and participating in school board meetings and working for those candidates that ultimately represent the values of the majority of people in your particular neighborhood. Don't be the silent majority, be the vocal majority, or the silent majority, you know, that says, oh, someone else will take care of it. Be vocal, get involved, get engaged,
get educated. First and foremost, get educated on who you're voting for and what you're voting for. That's a big thing.
I can't disagree with that. You know, I mean, I'm not going to get necessarily specific, but when I hear, you know, there was a video just went around the interweb It's just going to do that the whole show. I'm sorry, but there was a video that went around the interweb 2 days ago of a 6-foot-something male on a basketball team, and
I just covered it last night on my illegal shift sports one. Did we
killed that clip, or you can't pull it up that clip?
I don't have it. My partner had it, but fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
And they called the basketball game not after the first girl was injured, not after the second girl was injured. The guy literally injured 3 girls. And it wasn't like, did you watch this guy?
It was like he was playing football on a basketball court.
I mean, he was dominating the game. I mean, he made Barkley look timid. I mean, this guy was ripping the ball away from these girls and throwing these poor girls to the ground.
I saw that. I saw that on TV. Was there any mention in any of the stories that you guys looked at of this kid's parents?
No.
Anywhere to be seen, anywhere to be found, anywhere to interject? Maybe, hey son, stop knocking those girls. Or I'm sorry, hey my jolly green giant daughter, stop knocking those kids down. I mean,
with your beard, with your beard, playing in a girls' high school basketball game.
Where is it?
And then segue into.
Are we asking so much of parents these days that they can't have the common decency to do that? And Andrew, let me give you another example, I think, of what you're talking about. Does the name Lindell Mays mean anything to you? Lindell Mays. It probably doesn't. You might not have heard it, but his name came out a day or so ago. He is 23 years old. He is one of the suspects charged in the shooting in Kansas City during their Super Bowl parade.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So Lindell Mays is 23 years old. He was in the hospital. He got hit. He was one of the shooters. He also got shot in the cheek. He's got a big old bandage on the side of his face, his mugshot. Number one, the Kansas City Star put his mugshot out there, but with the caveat that they were apologizing for using his mugshot, because it is the policy of that particular news outlet not to use mugshots of minorities or black or minority individuals if they don't have to. They seek to find other photographs of an individual who's either been killed or charged in local homicides or something.
They actually said that?
Horrific crime.
They actually said that? They used the word minority?
Yeah. That's our policy.
You sent me something, and I don't know where it went.
But here's the other component of this. The mother of this kid, 23-year-old Lindell Mays, after it was announced and made public that he was a suspect in this shooting, guess what she did? She started a GoFundMe page for her son to help him get through this tragic time. So,
how much has been raised? Do you know?
I have no idea, and I don't care. But, where do you come up with this notion? And my question is, and I don't know what neighborhood she lives in, but is something like that accepted in her neighborhood, that your son is the one who's charged in this shooting, and you want me to dig into my pocket and give you money to help him make it through this difficult time?
You brought up that.
Are you kidding me?
You brought up the Kansas City thing. You said the guy was 23?
23 years old. Lindell Mays, M-A-Y-S.
Okay, because for a long time now.
L-Y-N-D-E-L-L, Mays.
Now, you remember when, right after it happened, they weren't releasing the names or photographs because they said they were minors. Initially, they said, they were minors. We're not going to release that.
It's not true.
I understand that now. And then I pointed out I saw a few things going around. Well, you didn't have that courtesy when it was Kyle Rittenhouse. You put his face all over TV.
Exactly.
They didn't
have that courtesy. You didn't have that courtesy for the poor young, and I hope he's soon to be very wealthy, Kansas City Chiefs fan at a football game that you painted, that you displayed one side of his red and white face supporting his team. Remember that?
They didn't hesitate to tag him as a racist either.
They didn't take. You didn't hesitate.
What was he,
1
9 or 11 years old, something like that?
Yeah, he was a young child, and I hope he's soon to be very wealthy, and I hope he's soon to put whatever that publication is that besmirched him and really assassinated his character. I hope they throw them completely under the bus, and he's wealthy beyond belief, much like Nick Sandman did to the people that besmirched his character when he was in DC. So no, Dan, I didn't know about that, but you ask a great question. When will the community, I bet you, I mean, can you check? I mean, I bet you he's got several $1,000s in there.
All right, so
Jason just looked it up, actually.
So the GoFundMe was taken down, but according to the Daily Mail, Mays' mother, Tennille Burnside, created a GoFundMe for her son, asking for help with his medical bills during this tragic time. He is in ICU fighting for recovery from several surgeries from going to the Chiefs Super Bowl celebration parade with his older sister, Burnside wrote.
Well, look, I'm not gonna look. That's a mom worried about her kid for sure.
I get it, but but it ended up getting pulled down because they realized, hey, Ron, you done fucked up. Yeah. We're not giving you any fucking money. Clown.
Yeah, and I'm not going to make fun of the fact that she's the mother of a kid that's in ICU. Absolutely. That's bad, but
that sucks.
I am going to say that he's not a innocent bystander in the
absolutely not,
and he bears a lot of the responsibility for what happened to him. But yeah, the press tends to bend over forward.
Part of injuring 22 other fucking people.
Correct. Killing one. Was it a child? The child that died.
He's got previous fucking run-ins with the police.
Well, let me tell you, it's a good segue with what you mentioned right there. Well, you mentioned he's got priors with the police, right?
Yes.
Okay. We have a very similar situation going on now here in Cincinnati in Hamilton County, where we've taken the voters in their esteemed wisdom, and this is how it starts locally. This is how it affects you locally. The voters in their esteemed wisdom took a great judge by the name of Kirk Kissinger off the bench and have replaced him with I believe her name's Sarah Silverstein. Judge Silverstein? Am I wrong? I don't want to mispronounce it. And the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing from the courthouse is she's adamantly anti-police, and they've had a lot of problems with her and how she's treating police and or coddling, their words, not mine, because I'm not at the courthouse. I don't hang out there even on my off days. But they're saying that she's becoming quite the activist judge, favoring the actually bending over sideways and forwards for the criminals. So my point here is this stuff happens locally. You said this guy in Kansas City had priors, obviously released, obviously out of jail. When you let these people and you slap them on the wrist and they feel like there's no ramifications for their crimes, that just makes them more brazen for the next crime because they know nothing's going to happen to them. So it actually makes us as a society locally less safe when judges coddle the criminals.
So Dan's had the new FOP president, Ken Kober, on his radio show, and we're going to have him on the podcast, and Ken's a friend of mine. Okay. But yeah, he released a statement out, about this new judge. Like, essentially, I'm completely paraphrasing, not his words. She hates cops and she's going to let everybody go. And this is
that's what I've heard. I mean, and that's pretty much simplistically what I've heard, that she really has a disdain for the police. I'm being kind here because without having firsthand knowledge, I'm just repeating what I've heard. But she has a disdain for the police, won't allow officers, I believe, in uniform in her court. I could be wrong about that, but she doesn't like police officers' uniforms. She will not allow officers, when you're in court, you're not supposed to be on the cell phone, but there's usually a waiver for attorneys and police officers. They can, be texting or seeing if they're needed or whatever. Because sometimes police officers are sitting in the courtroom for hours and hours and hours on end, waiting for their cases to be heard, or they'll be called in certain cases.
And they might be needed somewhere else. Imagine that.
They might be needed somewhere else. They might be catching up on emails, any number of things. And she put the kibosh on that. So, But hey, the voters spoke, right? The voters spoke, and now the rest of us and society in general in Hamilton County are going to be bearing the brunt of this. And just like the poor people in Kansas City bore the brunt because some judge decided that this kid was probably a victim of society and needed to be understood, and mommy didn't love him, and blah 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 blah. So we're going to let him out. So what did he do at a parade with probably, was there close to 1 million people? I've heard. I'm not sure exactly the crowd there, but he started
a huge crowd.
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of people there.
Yeah.
And this guy decides to start pulling out. And the other guy admitted that he was just shooting indiscriminately. And I heard one witness describe this as the guy just held his gun out at arm's length and just turned around in a circle while squeezing off rounds.
Don't you do that at the gun range? I mean, isn't that is that?
I haven't got to that level of
proficiency
of expertise yet when it comes to actually, being good with the firearm. Maybe that lesson comes a little bit later.
Spray and spray is what the technique is. It's a common technique used in the urban core.
But you want to find out what it's like to live in a third world hellhole, and we are really starting down that path with the kind of people we have in office, the people we have in sitting in the courtrooms, and it's interesting. I was listening to Jeff Birding was on the radio today, and he was talking about FC Cincinnati and their home opener is coming up on Sunday, and he was talking about some of the professional soccer players that have come to Cincinnati from other places around the country, other places around the world, and how much they like it here. And they come here and they want to live here, and they decide they're going to stay and raise a family. And so you might not see as much movement with the soccer players here in Cincinnati that you do in other towns. And he started talking about some of the former athletes that we've had, like, the Anthony Munozes of the world and the Chris Collinsworths and other big names that have come to Cincinnati. And because this is such a great place to live and work and raise a family, they've decided to stay.
Right.
But those things, if we keep going down the road we're going down, those things are going to change, and all that's going to start to erode. And we can see the possibility 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the road where we don't have professional sports teams anymore because it's going to be unsustainable if the level of crime keeps going the way it's going, if the members who get elected to city council and want to defund police or make it harder for police or give them an anal exam every time they have to pull a weapon or threaten to use force or something like that.
When it doesn't matter whether it's Cincinnati or whether it's somewhere in Texas, California, Utah, it doesn't matter. When you have these idiots that are trying to run your local governments, it starts running people out, and that's taxpayers that leave. Look at all of the celebrities that have left California. Most of them have gone to Texas.
Yeah.
Or Arizona. I know like, or Florida. I know like 4 or 5, like just right off the top of the head that I literally just saw. They're like, yeah, we're out. We're getting out of California. We're not doing Hollywood shit anymore.
Well, I just saw, actually, before we came on, I just saw a advertisement podcast. You said celebrities as well. Sylvester Stallone is moving from California to Florida.
Yeah.
Now he's going to make a show out of it, but I know that you can put that on your VCR. But wait, did I say VCR? What is that? VCR. What is the new term? What is that? What do we do now? We
Betamax.
DVR. No, DVR. Sorry, I had to think about that one. But anyway,
you gonna do an ad read anytime soon?
I could.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
but just I just want to finish my thought on this. All the stuff that we've talked about today, individually, may not seem like that big of a deal, but when you combine all these elements together, you talk about undermining here, undermining there. Loosening that soil that where the foundation is laid. That's how things start to fall apart.
Can I say one thing really quick?
If we're going to be on this show, calling this kind of stuff out, I'm all about that. I'm all about.
Let me tell you something else. You mentioned the mayor. You mentioned the city council, right? A couple weeks ago.
Whatever you're clicking. Damn it.
Who's that?
That's you.
What am I doing?
Your mic's making a lot of noise. Rubbing against something.
I was plugging it in better.
Well, That's why. Continue
Well,
your thoughts, sir.
Well, you almost distracted me, but because of my superior intellect, I was able to maintain composure.
Thank
for that.
God.
Don't ever interrupt me again. The the point is that the mayor. Hey, somebody, you might be leaving Cali. Yeah, you should. I mean, more power to you, buddy. The mayor. We had two different about a week apart. About 2 months ago, and it was right near the theater district, which was concerning because. When you go down to the Aeronaut, there is a metal detector to walk into to go in there, right? And so I saw the videos of the gang of youths beating up and robbing two different people right there by the Aeronaut about a month or two ago in downtown Cincinnati, right in our entertainment district. And I think, Dan, you've seen the video. I don't know if you commented on it. You probably did. But my point here is let me ask you guys a question. Did you hear anything from AFTAB on that incident?
No.
He did come out and his normal fallback position on incidents like this is that we are all to blame.
Oh,
so he, yeah,
I didn't think of that one. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
He laid out his most recent version of that. That's where he went.
Well, here's the deal.
And that's why I said no, because that's
how about that is bullshit. And how about this? How about coming out and saying, "I'm the mayor. The fundamental purpose of government, whether it be local, state, national, whatever, is protection of the citizenry. That is your primary fundamental responsibility. So as mayor, I'm going to recommend increased police patrols downtown and zero tolerance for this type of behavior. And we're not going to be reactive. We're going to be proactive. So if we see a gang of youths hanging out or meandering around and we think possibly they're going to be up to no good, we're going to go up and interview those youths and make sure they're not up to no, that, we know who they are. They know that we're looking at them, and we're going to prevent this kind of thing from happening. That's what I expect in a strong mayor. That's what I expect in a strong leader. And that's what I expect in our elected officials, no matter what their position is.
Well, proactive policing is something that used to be practiced in the city of Cincinnati. And
Correct.
For a long time, the Cincinnati police force was recognized as one of the very best, if not the best in the country. But that whole notion of proactive policing has been in the rearview mirror for a long time now. And if he would dare come out and use that term, then you would see heads explode on city council and with all the social justice warriors in and around Cincinnati saying we can't have that, and that would be the end of AFTAB Purwall as mayor, or anyone as mayor.
Let's be fair. How much longer do you think he wants to be mayor? I mean, I think he's somewhere else.
No, he's looking for a bigger job upstream. Let's see. We want to take this time to talk about foster care, and we believe that those in our neighborhood, in our area, those who open their hearts to kids, to take care of kids, their hearts and their homes, well, they're among the most special of our friends and neighbors. And, doing that can really be a strain on anyone's budget. No one does it to get rich or make money. But sadly, more than half of those who engage in foster care, they abandon it in after just 1 year, or maybe even less, because the resources can be really tough to come by. And that is where the Varner Foundation comes in. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. The Varner Foundation enables foster care agencies to lend out help in a big hurry. Let's say you need a car repair. Let's say a kid needs a new pair of shoes. Let's say there's an extra bed that's needed in the home. That's where the Varner Foundation comes in. And they work with these agencies to get those things done that need to be done, that enable these very special men and women to take care of the most vulnerable kids in our society. And here's the deal. When it comes to the Varner Foundation, this is why we talk about them on this program. Not only because Dan Varner is a great friend of our show, but the Varner Foundation, 100% of the donations go to the mission. They don't spend money on overhead. They don't spend money on offices. They don't spend money on whatever it is these places spend money on. All of it goes to the mission. So if you want to help make a difference in a child's life today, just look up the Varner Foundation at the varnerfoundation.org, varnerfoundation.org. And you can make a difference in a kid's life, just like that.
Absolutely.
What a great organization. Dan is a great human being, and I couldn't second that anymore. Dan does a lot of great things in his community. Talk about a guy that selfless and gives back to his community. Dan Varner is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him in this community, and we're lucky to have him as a friend of the show.
Absolutely.
And that, it was Dan Varner, not Dan Carroll. Just to set the record straight.
Did I say Dan Carroll?
No, but Pappas
right.
said Dan. I just wanted everyone to know Dan Varner, not Dan Carroll.
I think we've made that point.
You are, but you are a blessing to this community as well.
Well,
he's something.
I don't want to.
Pappas, he's something.
I don't want to put myself up against Varner.
You'll probably lose that one.
Probably.
You would probably lose that one. Andrew, do you have any final cuts as we're leaving? Gonna head out on this Friday evening.
We got to close this down, man. As we like to say, one more and I'm out of here.
You know, I think if I do have some final thoughts, it's if I can just, to be serious for 1 second. I think I've been pretty serious tonight, which is a rarity for me.
I'm actually very impressed.
That's what she said. But yes, she did multiple times. But the Dan's laughing. The truth is, get involved locally. Don't think that you have to reach for the sky to make a difference. You can make a difference, even if it's helping out something like the Varner Foundation in your particular community. Get involved, give back a little bit. And we need as many good people involved in our community to make it better. Don't wait for somebody else to do the little bit that you can do today. If we all pull in the same direction, it's going to make this job of turning this ship around a whole lot easier. So I just hope that everybody realizes, and look, this is a great program. I love being on here. I think I bring intellect that's sadly missing on every program by the hosts, but at the But at the end of the day,
why did we invite him back?
I was going to say, make a note. And
this is you. I got the text message from you about this.
The final. There's the final vital.
Episodes go by before we hear the name Pappas again.
Well, no, but I mean, see, I'm being serious. You guys, listen. You guys, this program, although love to have a good time, you guys cut up a lot, and it's really enjoyable to watch. And sometimes you got to be serious, and the world's getting to be every day. The world's getting to be a more and more serious place, and maybe it's the older you get, the more introspective you get, and you think, is there something more I could be doing? I'm not thinking I'm going to leave my mark on society in any way, shape, or form. But if you can help one kid, if you help one family, if you can help your kid, more importantly, and help your community, there's no more noble goal than that. So if you can get involved, if you're sitting on the home and you feel overwhelmed and you feel like you can't make a difference and things are too big for you to solve, that's not the case, man. Go to your PTA, go to your PTO, whatever it might be, get involved in your school, help out, give back to your community. And if you want to get involved politically, I've been in that world. I still am involved. I do a lot of work with the party level, and I will, get involved, help turn around your community. If we all turn around our communities one at a time, eventually we're turning around our country. And that's the ultimate goal here.
There you go. Good point right there.
That's some deep thoughts. I mean, I got to tell you, the depth that.
Too bad you stole that from Kamala Harris, but
I should do a word salad. I should do a word salad. Well, did you just compare me to Kamala Harris? Is that what you just?
I might have.
If I was tech savvy, I would have put her face on his while he was speaking.
It sounded
I'm
like
not that tech savvy.
That was a one hell of a word salad.
I'll tell you what, Carol, you better take a wide berth, buddy, when I see you. That's all I'm saying right now. You can compare me to a lot of people, but to compare me to vegetable lasagna, I really get pissed off about that. Okay.
Andrew,
Pappas, you're the best, man.
Stick around. Don't close out yet, but always a pleasure having you on. Give a quick Rob update like we normally do. I mean,
please do.
Still status quo. He had his last blood plasma transfer treatment, so we're waiting. He was peaceful today, hanging out, just sleeping. So was he
resting comfortably today?
looked like he was much better than yesterday. But yeah, so that's where we're at now. I mean, not a whole lot's changed. So as the updates come, each podcast will keep giving updates. But Pappas, I'm going to talk to you once we get off here about our fundraiser we got coming up. So
can I say something about that? I mean,
yes, sir.
You gave a good update, but the one thing I think you just I would add, and I'm not saying you missed it, but hey, man, this is our friend Rob that we're talking about here. Everybody knows him. If you're a friend of the show, you definitely know Rob Herking. It's just tragic to me to hear what happened with Rob, and he's been laying now in some form of a hospital for Jason. You said since January the 10th.
Yeah, initially January the 10th.
Yeah, and and it hasn't been. I'm thank you for telling the update that he's at least resting today. That hasn't always been the case, as you well know. And prayers do work. So if you have the ability and the time and the inclination, just drop a line to the man upstairs and say a prayer for Rob and hope that he pulls through, and that, Jason will talk later, but something's coming up that hopefully we can get together as a community and help support his family and what they're going through.
Absolutely. Very well said.
No, I don't have to say it.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. Thanks, Andrew.
See you guys.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Make sure you download.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. Download, rate, and review. And I'm not sure when our next one is, but we'll figure it out. And I'll send it out on the Instagram and Facebooks. And we will we'll see you next time. See ya.
See ya.